Why are we not talking about Aquaman 2, Lost Kingdom? Let's get into the talk. Or just the talk. Let's go. So it's your boy No 718, and we are going to talk about why isn't anyone talking about Aquaman 2? Now, yeah, I'm familiar with what's going on with the talk rabbit herd. Aside from that, coming off $1 billion first film, you'd think that there'd be a lot more talk on it. And even with everything being shrouded in restore the Snyder Cut and everything, we already know about that. I mean, not the Snyder Cut, the Snyderverse. We know about this. But let's seriously discuss it. Aside from all of that, is it me or does it feel like no one's talking about it? Even in just doing just some mild research of some behind the scenes film shots, I was actually surprised to see that they actually had shots for Black Manta, his new suit, which I'm loving. It's getting a lot more comic booky, which isn't a bad thing, at least not for me. I like the armored look. It's much more sleeker, even though I really did love the first one. It was a little bit bulky, but it made sense. It felt more functional. So the evolution of the costume would make more sense that it go more sleek or more mobile, so he could actually withstand any kind of like physical abuse, because it just would even make no sense with the superhuman power that comes along with Aquaman. And you want to actually see some kind of function or understanding about the suit that explains why he could withstand or even engage in an honest combat, how that suit levels him up. And I would be very interested to see how they explain that. I'm curious to know if they even use any Kryptonian technology along with Atlantis. You know, kind of bridge the two worlds in together a little bit more, but that might be a little bit too much to ask for, given the fact that we don't even know where the hell, in which universe this film franchise is set in. You know what I mean? We're kind of ambiguity until they decide to address really what does the worlds of DC mean, and moving forward which is set with which. And I just seen a video some YouTuber had where they really laid it out. A lot of things I knew, but I liked how they laid it out and organized it. A lot of ways they organized it was interesting, because he also came with his reasoning, the reasoning behind it. And even though some I totally disagree with, I don't think that's what they're doing. A lot of it was in the right direction. Basically, the idea was just using the Flash film, and I understood. I like the fact that he even addressed what a big YouTuber, especially I just said a scooper, had talked about with Flash resetting the universe, DCEU. They're going to use it to split up the multiverse, basically. And that's what the restart would look like. It's just probably misworded and no different. No one's saying that it's her fault, that YouTuber. It was more maybe how it was presented by the person that they got it from, the inside person. And probably, as this other YouTuber said, purposely so you could get it askewed, or purposely presented out there for anybody on the inside, so no one would know what they're going to try to masterly weave. And I'll use masterly loosely because WB has expressed themselves to be so reactionary. It would be a surprise at some point that someone had the master plan of utilizing this in a very safe way, but there's some sense to be made with that, because ever since they started coining the term worlds of DC, then it is fair to kind of follow the threaded thought that perhaps there was a lot more planning. Maybe they knew what they were doing ahead of time, but they wanted to operate in quiet. And remember, as a lot of these films are already coming out, was already in the can, you work with what you got while planning for the next generation of films and expressing what's worlds of DC, and maybe in the background did organize which label imprint moving forward these films will come from, so you have a better visual. In this interpretation that the YouTuber utilized, that means that you would have to warrant a lot of these. See, this is what I come into play. Yeah, you could use Aquaman in its own universe, or a lot of, just for an example. Not to suggest that this YouTuber was saying that specifically, but I knew he addressed that as well. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, Aquaman is in the Hamadaverse, quote unquote. Then you left it open for Snyder, but are you going to argue that you're going to have Aquaman making a film for both universe, individually show going in certain directions? I don't know. Or will that mean just Aquaman is just going to be in the big movies, team up movies there, but he won't have a solo venture there that has its own lore, if you will? That's why I just don't see it being economical going that way. It'd be interesting if they could get away with it, but then at that point you would want a different actor just to make it easier to differentiate. You won't want to use the same actor, but again, this is all being built out of reaction. Now what they can do is go with Aquaman in this next universe. Say it don't work and whatnot, you could say, well, it's in that other universe. Go to Zack Snyder under your imprint, if they so choose to give you an imprint, and be like, yo, your Snyderverse, what can you do with this film character here? How was you gonna tell the story? And then if you could make Jason Momoa sell the next Aquaman movie as a true sequel to maybe James Wan, also happen in the Snyderverse, just to argue, then you could push it through there. And just call it King of Atlantis. KOA. Boom. And make the King of Atlantis films over there. King of Atlantis, the Aquaman. Next one, or Aquaman, the King of Atlantis. And the next one, Kingdoms Lost. You know, I don't know, just try whatever you can do to now further it in the Snyderverse, should you choose to no longer go with the Hamadaverse. And again, that's overly hedging it, but I'm more of the ilk of thinking what most people do. They're just gonna leave the Snyderverse open, and if this doesn't work, that will be their crutch, because there is an audience for what Snyder was doing. The question is will they be enough of a wave to make people want to go visually see or follow Aquaman? See, I don't know, man. I mean, will they go? Will they want to go like make the layman, the rank and file audience goer want to go get motivated to go see what Zack Snyder is doing, his interpretation of these characters, utilizing the same actors as well? I mean, I do think the audience is getting more sophisticated for multiverse films. I don't know if they're willing to go that deep, and that's the thing. So it's still a business, you know what I mean? And no one's gonna want to try again with the same actor again, but underneath another universe or imprint. It's possible, but then Well, I mean, I guess some movies have been done before. Like they was at the parent company big, but they dropped it down, the budget down, and put it out. The next one's out into their subsidiaries. I believe that's actually happened. Like I said, I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know. I just don't see it. I do think they're just doing things to see how they can leave things open and see where things go from here. They're still being vague. At the same time, it's also possible that they're just still working in the moment. But I do believe they've picked up some sort of planning, at least a little bit better, from past mistakes. But that being said, the energy around Aquaman 2 is just lacking. I just don't see too much people talking about Aquaman 2 outside of the Amber Heard fiasco. And with a good, like, with the Manta suit just looking so much, even though I really do like the first one, I think I kind of like the first one better. This one is very dope. It makes sense. I get what they're going with it. I just don't see a lot of people speaking about it. Even I didn't even know these pictures existed of the new suit. At least I couldn't really remember. And that goes to show you, maybe I have seen it and it just didn't produce that much of a bookmark in my psyche, because there's no real energy around it other than what is the DCEU. Everyone is just curious about having it answered. You know what I'm saying? And maybe they will. But for right now, I don't know if I feel that it could be $1 billion movie. And that's the next thing. Will it be as successful? I don't know. I mean, pandemic aside, we've been away from Aquaman, I think the original one, for about 3 years. I just don't see it. I see it being successful 7, maybe 8. I don't see it being a Billy Goat. I just don't see it breaking a Billy. I could eat crow, but this ain't Spider-Man. There's no talk about this. There's more shit around it that makes it less than advantageous. And then when you incorporate the pandemic and everything, I just don't see it. I just don't see a lot of excitement around the house of DC outside of the new Batman. And I feel like there's a higher energy for that. But I don't really think that the Batman will do $1 billion. I think it'll do good. Like, I think it'll do 600 post-COVID. Yes. A respectable 600. And I think at most 8. 6 to 8. I could easily feel like a 650 to 750 is where I would more bet on. But I think it'll be anywhere from 6 lowest. I don't think it'll drop under 6. Even post, you know what I mean? Like pandemic. I just don't see that. But I do see it getting in the $600 mark. Like Man of Steel, good start. We would have liked more. It's a lot more potential for more because we've raised the level of the IP quite considerably. But with a lot of things that's been going around that's not in DC's favor, I could see, and with the competition being the thing that everyone's looking at, I could see being seen as legitimate competitions, like an either or type of deal. It sets it back a little bit. Sets it back and makes it a little less than likely of breaking that Billy mark. And again, I just don't see the Batman being as successful as I think it should be, because it took a lot of hits, and that's mostly WB kind of creating a lot of uncertainty amongst the fandom, and they kind of help generate the enthusiasm around the franchise. And with a larger comic book behemoth of a franchise with several mini franchises going and competition out there with other brands and even lesser known ones, it could take up a lot of the enthusiasm that WB would have garnered had they had better faith with the audience. That said, it will be a successful film. The energy is building up, and the more and more trailers that they drop, and I feel like I heard that there's more scenes, and you'll get to see me doing my reaction to those scenes. It's building, it's shaping itself nicely to having the potential to be a Joker hit. But the question is would Joker been a hit? What would a Joker hit be post pandemic? Make no mistake, Spider-Man did well, but that Spider-Man is a phenom onto its own. It had a lot going for it that, just as is the case on with any of the DC properties, including Batman. But Batman will exceed far more than the average bear and can be quite a contender if firing off at all cylinders at WB to rival any of Marvel's most successful brands, individual brands. I don't know if a Batman could challenge the Avengers, because the Avengers come with the weight of a lot of franchises culminating into one big film. And I still think Batman running on all cylinders, you can't expect it to beat it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it gets in this close enough in its orbit to be an issue, because Batman has been some of the most successful titles and franchises, and it's the biggest character they got at the WB. It just is what it is. But it will do. The Batman will be successful. Like I said, the lowest 600, but I think will rest well in the 650 to 750 area. I see it could be Man of Steel, no doubt. Because it just is what it is. The Batman is just a bigger IP, bigger name. But that's gonna be real good post pandemic. Believe that. And even though Spider-Man could bring them out, the Batman doesn't have what the Spider-Man had in his arsenal coming into No Way Home, along with all the surprises. You understand what I'm saying? That said, though, let's talk about the Flash, because is there any energy around the Flash? And to be honest, not that much. It's more confusing over there, more of a mixed bag. The excitement, the enthusiasm, it's more, what is this film about? What is it going to mean to the DCEU at large? Ezra Miller is a mixed bag when it comes to what people feel about him, and he doesn't help with how he presents himself. He is, I like what someone said when he showed up to fandom, he just looked ridiculous. And it's like, if you're trying to rebrand yourself and get in good favor with the fandom, this whole weird, I'm quirky stuff is not going to work in your favor. It's going to make you look like you're a fucking nut now. Because when you're still a dude, and you're still, you know what I mean, a white guy, you know what I'm saying, and you're doing the non-binary thing or what have you, and it's not going to work in your favor after this situation with that female. And then the socially awkward thing is just, you can't sell it now. You know what I'm saying? What he should have did was show up like an adult, like a professional, like at all times, suited and booted. No one said you couldn't rock your fingernails a bit. You could have worked that in, but don't go so far all off left. Still look business professional. You know what I mean? Or a professional casual. You know what I mean? You might not need the 3-piece suit with the tie, but you could have had like a button-up uncollared, just look smooth. Because at the end of the day, you still got to sell this product, and you want the Flash to do well. And it's going to take your personality, and your personality is not going to connect well with what you got looming in the background, because I think that is enough to make everything that you was doing that could have catered to those fringe crowds to look more like you're just a nut, as opposed to this eccentric person that's fluid and could go into all these different type of communities and garner that type of connection that will make them want to come to the cinema based on their representation in you. You lose all of that credibility because they haven't addressed what happened, which was very smart. But then you come out and you're trying to sell the movie looking like you woke up out of bed with this weird energy. It's not going to sell the film. And it's already your interpretation of the Flash, whether it's your fault or not, because of whatever, like the Josh Whedon's take on it, or the fact that they had to use Josh Whedon as punch-ups to the script initially. So I don't know if Zack Snyder was able to use, because they was already rewriting that at the time. You got to also remember that. Even before they brought Josh Whedon on to help punch up the script. So that says a lot. So I don't know if that was even what we've gotten is as much as the personality that Zach wanted. So now, even with that being said, your character alone was working against you. And if you can't sell the character, or you having mixed opinions about the character, then if you're going to show up to sell the film, you don't show up looking like you woke up out of bed. You should have got tailored, look real presentable. You got a lot of things in your background that's just not working for you. And this can be a testament to really fleshing your character out and making you likable. Don't show up looking and sounding awkward and weird, and it's going to be taken like you don't take your job seriously. 1, 2, while the company is also protecting you. Now, maybe you get away with it because you're non-binary and all of that, and that's all fine and dandy. But you were supposed to not look like that, because now you look crazy because you've yet to address what happened before with that young lady that you got into it with. The company's been very quiet on it. You've been quiet on it, and as you should. This is smart. This is what you were supposed to do. But now you show up looking like you just woke up out the bed looking crazy, and then you're going to try to be the avatar of this film and the franchise that you're trying to be at the front of and push this film. They're surrounding you with a lot of people to buoy this film, from Michael Keaton to even the new characters in Supergirl and I don't know if Batgirl is in this one, but Supergirl's supposed to be in this. Even though a lot of people are not really gravitating towards her like that, it don't matter. She's still a brand and she's still a name, and she's there to buoy the film. And then you got all these other actors coming back. This can be well done, and you show up like that at DC Fandom. I don't get it, Ezra. Don't get it. You are killing the energy around your film, and it's just not helping your cause. Then we look to Wonder Woman 3, which no one's talking about. Patty Jenkins, oh bless her heart, She was looked at as the darling of Hollywood after Wonder Woman 1. And in the pushback of 84 for another year or so, everybody kept talking about her. After Wonder Woman 84 and the critical and audience reviews of it, no one's talking no more. Everybody is retracting all statements. She's no longer the darling. But she is running off the fumes of the first film long enough that she may open herself up for redemption here in part 3. But no one's talking about it. There's no energy about it. She has lost the confidence of her audience with Wonder Woman 84. It just did not work in their favor, and there is no enthusiasm around it. It's just sad to say. Are there possibilities that there's no script or nothing? Like I said, there's no script or nothing. So there are possibilities that they could come out and drop a synopsis. There's plenty of time before that, so they could always pick up some sort of good favor with when you have all these other DC properties coming out. Hopefully, putting Wonder Woman 3 in a good position so that she can be successful. Because if these other films were to bomb and do like critically horrible, then it would be a difficult task for Wonder Woman 3, even if it is good, to be as successful as the first one, because 84 was so bad, and then now all the other films coming out of the DCEU has failed. Then it would just make Wonder Woman 3 just be in a bad position when it's time for her to roll out. But there's plenty of time, because depending on casting with these other films coming out, if they do good as well, the energy will still be going in the right direction. And Patty is really running off the fumes of the first one, that in the third one she could really prove that she is no fluke. She's the real deal, and she comes with it for part 3. But to be quite honest, even if you want to look at Shazam, no one's really talking about Shazam like that. I mean, even behind, I think they even filming it just recently, if I'm not mistaken. See, I don't even know, but I will say this: what's the other film that they got coming out? Well, the only other one to talk about will be the next one I'll talk about, but I want to stay on point with Shazam just for a little bit, because this is going to be the proper segue into the next one. Because even though Shazam did get good critical reviews in the first film, it did not perform to the level of any of the other WB films, let alone any other the biggest competing studio out right now, Marvel. And again, like I said, even though the Batman has all the potential to go to $1 billion, we're still post the pandemic. You gotta still be wary that we've changed a lot of people's habits, and the fact that this is a darker film, this doesn't look like it's something that people want to bring the kids to see, even though it's not rated R. So we gotta see how the turnout and the motivation for people to want to go see it. This is unlike Spider-Man. A lot of people keep thinking about, because Spider-Man hit $1 billion, or will hit $1 billion if it isn't $1 billion already right now. And it's so successful, that means that everybody, that the cinemas are back. And that doesn't necessarily make it that clear that the cinemas is back, but it makes it clear that under certain circumstances, you'll see that. And Spider-Man had a wealth of great circumstances, from the franchise, all the movies that buoy that up into that space. The fact that Spider-Man, independent of all of that, is one of the biggest IPs out there, characters, merchandise, etc., etc. Spider-Man has so much going for it, as well as all the surprises that was coming on in the film and the multiverse and all of that. It was just so much going on and good press. It was gonna blow. It was an event film. The Batman isn't exactly an event film. Isn't being pressed to be that way. But as we get closer and closer as an independent character, it has all the potential to go $1 billion. You know what I'm saying? That's without a doubt. But again, if these films are not going to get there, you can't expect something like Shazam that even prior to the pandemic could not achieve what even Suicide Squad, David Ayer's version, could have done. So now in the post-pandemic, and these new behaviors of people going out and inflation, it's highly unlikely we'll get that level of excitement from Shazam. The universe DC as a whole has to do a lot more so it could buoy up these independent projects that are lesser known. But it's not just incumbent on that. These films also have to provide and produce exactly the type of entertainment that people are looking for at the time that it's coming out. Which segues nicely into the most enthusiastic project that the WB has going out. And if you ask me, it's not as big as that, but it's big enough that it's significant for the WB, and they need to hang on to this because you have Black Adam. And we already know where a lot of that is gonna come from. The personality of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is so enormous that he comes with his own fan base. And then he comes from the WWE background, that fan base, coupled with the fact that he's playing a villain. And if they lean into him being a real villain, this is going to be something that people will have not seen from The Rock. And if The Rock is, and he's been talking about like it being more of a serious film, that's going in his favor. Seeing that with the Batman getting a lot of good press, that it seems like we're circling back to more serious toned superhero films and projects. And if that's what we're circling back to, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson being part of something like that, especially if he's delivering a performance that we've never seen before, and that's impressive, that is going to also elevate the enthusiasm and excitement for this film, without a doubt. And then also, he is very good at independently promoting his projects, and he's very well groomed and at fan engagement. So a lot of pieces are in play that puts Black Adam in a pristine precision, especially the fact that this film is set in the past, so it doesn't have to be tied to any of the universes per se, even though Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is on, I'm saying his whole name and shit, but he is on the record for saying that he wants to even have a Black Adam versus Superman fight, a film and project. And these are the type of thing that people are talking about. It's going to buoy the enthusiasm, and it's not a cut fandom. If they take well to this will also give word of mouth press to make people want to be motivated in the next DCEU project, in particular Black Adam. And that right now is the only film that's getting positive excuse me, positive press right now, and that could elicit the positive enthusiasm that the WB is looking for to promote this film, especially to the masses at large. With that said, what do you think? Do you agree with me on the basically I did a damn near enthusiasm barometer, if you will, about which DCU films in this next slate to come, and do you think that I've kind of explained it pretty well? Do you think I even was accurate in which films are the most have curried the most enthusiasm around it? Let me know in the comments below. Let's just chop it up. Let's talk. Let's discuss. You already know what it is. Let's engage the topic. And this is another episode of Just a Talk. It's your boy Nove 718, and you already know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time, and as always, till I have a better outro. Chill.